So we thought we'd go through my time with the senior national team, starting with my first cap. So my first cap, so a cap is your first game or any game played for Canada. That's an official match. It's called a cap. So currently I have 126 caps. And my first cap was in Mendoza, Argentina in 2013. And that was at the Pan Am Cup. So sorry, it's kind of a blurry photo, but that was us on the podium with our bronze medals. We played Chile in the third and fourth game, and that was the best that the Canadian women's team in quite some time. So the last time the women's team went to the Olympics was in the 80s, and the last time that we had won a medal at a Pan Am Cup or Pan Am Games was, I think, in the 80s as well. So the program had kind of taken a bit of a dip, and it had been building back up. And then in 2013, we got our best result that we'd had for a little while. So that was my first tour in Argentina. And then, so yeah, I said I went to school, the University of Iowa in 2013. So I still trained with the national team, but all of 2014, I was pretty much in the States. So I took a little bit of time off and didn't go on the tours that the team were doing that year, and then caught back up with them at the beginning of 2015. We went on tour to New Zealand, and that was all going to be preparation for the 2016 Rio Olympic qualification. So we did a big tour in New Zealand. We went to Auckland and played the Black Sticks. So that's what they call the New Zealand team, the Black Sticks. And that was a good tour. After that, so that tour kind of was a build up for the qualification for the Rio 2016 Olympics. So the way that we could have qualified for that was through World League. So the first World League was in Dublin in Ireland, and you had to come top two. So we played Chile in the semifinal, and it went to a shootout. And we won that shootout, so that secured our place to move on to the next round of the World League. But unfortunately, we lost to Ireland in the final. So Ireland has been a bit of a dreaded team for us for a while, dating back to 2016. So then since we came top two there, we moved on to the World League round 3, and that was later that year in Valencia in Spain. And at that tournament, it was a qualification for Rio, so we had to come top 4, which we didn't. So we didn't qualify for the Rio 2016 Olympics. But the team was definitely not, I don't think, ready to play in an Olympics then. We were still building and we were still quite young, but it was still a good experience and a good tournament. So yeah. After that, I guess there was a second way we could have qualified for the Rio Olympics, would have been the Pan Am Games. So that summer, the Pan Am Games were held in Toronto, which was really cool. So a home major games. So the Pan Am Games, they're multi-sport games, meaning that there's all the sports are there. It's kind of like a mini Olympics. So you stay in an athlete village and you eat in the dining hall, and you get to hang out with all the athletes. So it's pretty cool. So we came third there. So again, that if we had to come first, that would have been qualification for Rio. But the Pan Am pools are pretty tough. We always have Argentina, and the States also has been in the past a big competitor for us. So we played the US in the semis here and lost to them, and then beat Chile in the third and fourth games. So it was still pretty cool to get a medal at home in Toronto. At the Pan Am Games. If you girls have any questions while I'm going through it, you guys can unmute yourselves and ask too, or at the end we can come back to. This was my 50th cap. So my 50th game for Canada, it was the next summer. So after we didn't qualify for Rio, we took a little bit of time off, and then started training again because the World Cup was coming up. So this was a tour that we went on to Lancaster, Pennsylvania in the summer of 2016. And then a little bit later, we had the next major tournament was another World League, this time for the World Cup. And it was held in West Vancouver. So I don't know if any girls came to watch that. It was a couple years ago. It unfortunately didn't go very well for us. We lost a very heartbreaking game to Belarus. And so we didn't even move on to World League Round 3, which was where you would actually qualify for the World Cup. This was the Pan Am Cup. It was held in Pennsylvania. It was later that same year, just later that summer. It was a good tournament. We came third. So as you can see, we've quite consistently come third behind Argentina and the States. But yeah. And then after that, the coach we had at that time was fired. So that's when our new coach, Giles, came on board. Giles was a South African living in Amsterdam, and Kentucky Canada hired him, which was really awesome. We had no idea who he was or had just sort of seen the teams he'd coached in the past, but he had a pretty impressive resume. So we were all pretty excited to work with him. So he met us in Chile in January 2018. And that was kind of the start of our prep for the 2020 Olympics. So this was us in Chile. We then, that April, had the Commonwealth Games. They're held on the Gold Coast in Australia, and they also are a major game. So lots of different sports, and living in an athlete village, and eating in the dining hall, and getting to interact with just a bunch of really world-class athletes. So it's a pretty cool experience, and it's not a qualification for anything for any sport. So athletes tend to not be too stressed out, or are really just enjoying getting to play at the high level, at the international level. So we came fifth in the Gold Coast. After that, we trained over the summer, mostly in Vancouver, and then we had to go to what they called the Hockey Series Open in Salamanca, Mexico. And so that was the first step towards the qualification for Tokyo for the Olympics. And so that tournament we won pretty easily. The biggest other competition, I guess, was Mexico, but they were ranked quite a lot lower than us. So got through that one. We then we were then in Belgium. The whole team actually moved to Belgium. So we had there's I think 21 of us that went over there, and we played all at different clubs, and we were able to train pretty much all week, or the beginning of the week at least was very front loaded. And then we would train with our clubs Thursday, Friday, and then play a game with our clubs on the weekend. So we did that spring. So here, fall 2018, training phase in Belgium.
Stephanie?
Yes.
I have a question.
Okay.
Because we saw you when you were playing in Amsterdam.
Yes.
You were playing, I think, South Africa.
Yeah.
And Giles just was coaching you for a year by that time?
Yeah, so I think that was summer of 2019.
So I was wondering, what did he different? Because he has been coaching a lot in Europe, hasn't he?
Yes.
What was different for him being the coach for you guys in comparison to the past?
Yeah, I think the biggest difference was the amount we trained increased a lot, and also the quality of our training increased a lot. So Giles, he brought in a lot of very specialist trainers, so trainers that taught us how to do different shooting techniques and 1v1 skills and gameplay tactics. And also the number of games that we played really increased. So Giles had a good connection with the South African team, and he had connections with Germany and Holland. And since we were based in Belgium, every team was a lot more accessible and a lot closer to play. So we got a lot more. They were maybe not official test matches, but they were unofficial practice games that really helped us improve.
So you really improved because you all played a lot more.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's
And then,
making a lot of hours on the field.
yeah, a lot of hours. So our typical training week in Belgium was probably 5 or 6 2-hour sessions. So often we would do double days. So Monday mornings, Monday afternoon, Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday morning, maybe Wednesday afternoon. And then also a lot of video and a lot of meetings in between that. So our days were pretty full with hockey. And outside of hockey, maybe 2 days in the gym and 1 extra running session.
Okay.
So I don't know, add that all up. That makes quite a lot of hours of training. Yeah.
Well, these girls that are watching now, they have practiced twice a week, so 3 hours. So
Yeah.
girls, it's quite a comparison.
Yeah. That's a good start though. Yeah, so this one's from a tour we went on to China. So this was January 2019. We went on a pretty intense, long tour there that was pretty much just eat, sleep, play hockey all day. That one was one that I'm sure a lot of girls on the team are not going to forget. And it started with about a week and a half of just training, and then we had a few games against China at the end. So everyone always looks forward to the games. And then in the spring, like I said, we were based in Belgium, and we were able to travel a lot and play all those neighboring countries. So Germany and Holland. We went over to Scotland, and got a lot of games in there, leading up to the first part of our Olympic qualifier, which was the World League round two, or World League finals, I think they called it, which was in Valencia in Spain. And we again had to come top 2 there to move on. So we came second, and we lost to Spain in the final. But a really big highlight of that tournament was the semifinal. We beat Italy 7-0, which was pretty shocking, and I think made a lot of news in international hockey around the world that Canada has improved a lot and is a team that shouldn't be taken lightly anymore. So that was a pretty fun tour or tournament.
When I look at your pictures, I see like, are there any friends of you on the team or players that you've played with when you were younger?
Yeah, so I don't know I don't think I can use my cursor, but I played for West Van Billy Club growing up. So Hannah Hahn also played with me. She's bottom, if you're looking at the screen, bottom row, second from the right.
She has been coaching with us as well in the past.
And then Rachel to her left, she also played for West Van. Maybe you guys recognize her. And then going across a couple more, bottom row, second from the left, Holly Stewart. She also played with me growing up. We're all a couple years apart, but some of the touring teams, like the Adnacs down to the States, we played on those teams together. But nobody that was my age or that I played club, like spring league with, ended up playing with me on the national team. I
noticed when I was kind of researching you a little bit that there was written about you that you were one of the youngest players when you started with the national team.
Yeah. So when I started with the national team, I guess I was, 17. And since our team has been pretty much the same for the past 6 years, then it's kind of made me the youngest player on the team for the past 6 years. One girl is a year younger than me, Nikki. So Nikki Woodcroft, and she has a sister on the team. So they're the 2 at the bottom row of this picture, far bottom row on the left, and then 2 over. You can see they kind of look alike.
Well, and I just want to explain to our players that field hockey is perceived as a sport that you excel at a higher age. So you were really young, starting at 17, but it's quite common to play field hockey at a really high level when you're 24, 25, or even 28.
Yeah. Some of the girls, I think the oldest player I know is the Argentina goalkeeper. I think she's maybe getting close to 40, and then she has 2 kids as well, which is pretty crazy. And she's very good still. So
Cool.
I feel lucky for a long time. Yeah, so then the last summer, we had the Pan Am Games. So this is my second Pan Am Games. The first ones were in Toronto in 2015. These ones were in Peru, in Lima. And at these ones, we ended up coming second, so a bit of an improvement. We lost to Argentina in the final, but we beat the U.S. in the semifinal. So an improvement from from 4 years ago at the last Pan Am Games. And then the last event we had was the Olympic qualifier in Dublin in Ireland. So I don't know if you guys watched that one. Maybe some of you did. It was probably streamed, I think. And we lost. We ended up losing in a shootout. So that was our Olympic dreams gone in a shootout. But it was still a good experience. And the lead up and all the training that we'd done the past, 2 years with Giles, but 3 or 4 years with the coach before really put us in a really good position for these games. And yeah, it was hard to lose in a shootout, but that's how sport goes.
So I have a question that goes back, that's from Danica, that
Yeah.
goes back to the start, because she did say that you were also playing another sport before you started to play field hockey.
Yeah.
So what sport were you playing?
I was playing before field hockey, mostly soccer, but a little bit of basketball and some volleyball, and I also did track and field.
So did you continue with field hockey, but did you continue with soccer and the other sports?
Yeah, soccer. I played also pretty high level soccer. Played, I don't know if they have the same levels now, but yeah, the gold and then metro and then the high performance team. And in grade, I think 9, when I didn't make the BC team for soccer, I decided, okay, it's time to just fully focus on field hockey.
So that's the other question that Danica had, was that, do you think that, playing the other sports has helped you to become a better field hockey player?
Yeah, I think for sure. I mean, one of my strengths as a field hockey player is that I understand the game very well, and on the field, I'm good at seeing the space and um, making good passes and things like that. And I think a lot of it has come from other sports, and especially from soccer. That although they're very different games, skill-wise, I think tactically that there's a lot of similarities, and it was a big help for me coming into field hockey.
And then you mainly play the national team as a striker?
Yeah.
Is that always, or is it just the last few years?
Pretty much always. I would say I've played a few shifts as a midfield, but for the majority of my career, I've been a striker. So left forward, center forward, right forward, it doesn't really matter on our team. We end up moving around all the time. So I wouldn't even say I really have a preference, but if I had to pick, I'd probably say the right side.
And what makes you a good, what are the qualities for a good striker?
Yeah. I think a good striker has to be willing to take risks. So that's something that Giles really drilled into us when he came in, was that our backfield or our defense, they're all about keeping the ball in possession and not taking any risks, and anything above the 50. So probably the midfields and definitely the forwards, that you can take any 1v1 battle you want, and you need to take a risk, or else we're not going to get any sort of attack or any sort of chances on goal. So you have to be willing to lose the ball, but you also have to be willing to work really hard to get it back. So as a striker, you're the first line defense, so you're running a lot, and you're often doing a lot of unrewarded running, we call it. So you're just putting pressure on their defenders, or you're sprinting, I don't know, to make leads, to open up space or whatever. But you often get to score the goals, so there's a lot of glory that comes with being a striker too. So
and what has been your most glorious goal?
The most glorious goal, I can't pick one, and I can't even remember them all, but I think one of my favorites would have had to been in Toronto at the 2015 Pan Am Games. I think it was the goal was, I don't even know. It might have been against Trinidad and Tobago or something, but I don't know, just a good teamwork goal, and to score at home in front of all the fans was a pretty good feeling.
Okay, I am, unless you wanted to add something, because then I will unmute and see if there's some questions from the girls.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, all participants are muted.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Was it hard to go from playing with the West Band League to Team Canada?
Well, there was a few steps in between, I guess. So I played the West Van League, and then I did the regional program and Team BC program, and then there was also a little bit of high performance training with a U17 development team. So I think the transition was kind of gradual in that sense. So I didn't have to go right from, say, spring league jumping right into a national team camp. But I do remember my first time training with the national team. It was really shocking at the level, how different it was, and how I had to run and how much faster the game was. So something to get used to for sure.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If you ended up going to the Olympics, what do you think you'd be doing now?
Well, if right now, if we didn't have this COVID disease virus happening, I think we'd be in full training mode. But if it was right now, then we would probably have some sort of virtual training environment. The Olympics aren't being held this summer. I don't know. Did you see that? They're going to be the next summer, 2021. So yeah, we'd probably be in a pretty intense training mode, similar to the training that we did as a lead up to the qualifiers. Yeah.
Danica.
Any other questions about? You could ask me about school, going to school in the States to play field hockey, or how I combined that with the national team, or I don't know, what we do on tour.
I have a question.
Okay.
Did you start with junior national team or go straight to the national team?
I started with the junior national team. So in grade 12, I trained with the junior national team a little bit. And then there was the Junior World Cup. So I was picked to play on that team, and that was in the summer before I started with the national team. So we did that. And then after that, so the Junior World Cup, the coach of that was the same coach as the national team. So that was a pretty easy transition. So he coached me in the summer, and then in the fall, he also selected me to play in the 2013 Pan Am Cup. So that was when I got my first cap with the senior national team. Yeah. And yeah.
Stephanie, so do you have like a special skill that you're really good at and you love to do?
I would say something that Giles brought in when he came into our team was that everyone had to really know their super strength, or like what they brought, what they could always bring. So my super strength is that I could always bring shots on goal and a lot of attacking opportunities. So I would say some skills that I'm very good at are anything in the circle. So backhand shooting, forehand shooting, chop shots, tipping, things like that are kind of my specialty. But as a skill, a 1v1 skill, maybe the chop or like the bop. Do you guys know what I mean? When you hit it down into the turf. Yeah, that often is a skill of mine that I would use to eliminate a player, or else
Maybe we have to add that to the challenge, Stephanie.
That'll be the challenge. It'll be coming up.
Okay, last chance for questions.
Do you have a favorite stick brand?
My favorite stick brand? Well, I'm sponsored by Osaka, so I better say Osaka. But yes, they are my favorite. Yeah.
Well, can I ask a question about your international games? How many minutes are you on off the field? So that means, like in ice hockey, I think, what is it, 90 seconds or so? How long are you on the field, and then you have to make a substitution normally as a forward?
Yeah, normally, well, as a forward, I'd say we sub every like 3 or 4 minutes, so really quick. And maybe max up to 7 or 8, depending on the game. But we're, especially up front, like we're sprinting around so much that there's really no point to be on the field longer than that, or you're just bringing the team down, like you're too tired.
And how long are you off the field then?
Yeah, then you're probably off for about the same amount of time. So often our team will have 5 or 6 strikers, so that if there is 6, then it's just 3 on, 3 off, or if there's 5, then one striker maybe has to do a bit of a double shift.
And have you seen that? Because it's what you're explaining is it's really like a sprinting game almost. Huh? It's a 4 or 5 minute sprinting game, and then have a rest, and then especially as a forward, a midfielder. Has it changed a lot since you were, let's say, in the young Canadian team? I think it's getting more and more of a fitness sport.
Yeah, I would say it's changed a lot. And the speed has gone up a lot too. So, a bit of an older style of hockey is maybe a bit slower and less focused on the fitness and more about the skill. But I think now teams are realizing that you can basically outwork your opponent, and if you're faster and more explosive to the ball, you're going to get there first and be better.
Okay.
Yeah, so I want to tell the girls that we're planning another webinar, and it's interesting because Stephanie referred already to it, how you have different jobs when you're in a different position in the field. And we'll explain a little bit more about that the next webinar. What was your question?
Well, I think I hope they will do their challenges.
Yeah. You guys, today's Friday, so you have a super challenge that's been posted.
Yes, so we'll email you all the information about the next webinar and what Stephanie and Donald were saying. We hope you're all taking on the challenges. There's 2 each week. And if you can, let us know through TeamSnap. It would be great if you can stay in touch with each other that way. For now, I wish you all happy Easter.
Yeah.
And see you all at the next webinar.
Stop recording. Or?